Hello, and for those of you that been here before, welcome back. For those of you just seeing this, welcome. I always like to start off with the same disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I damn sure ain't no financial analyst or anything like that. So if you're looking for advice, you're in the wrong place, buddy. Shrug off, alright? Because you ain't finding no advice here. But hopefully what you'll find is some good conversations and maybe some topics that you enjoy. Well, I'm actually having my first conversation today. I'm pretty excited by it. Dude, if you'd like to come on in. Now, as I mentioned before, we're not going to use names because it's not about who we are on these videos as much as what we have to talk about. Oddly enough, though, today's subject is about who we are. Now, oddly enough, not using the names really doesn't have any point to what we're saying. Because what's in a name? A rose is a rose by any other name.
Okay.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
So that's why we go with the dude thing.
Okay.
Which that and I just like the beach bum dude thing.
Yeah.
Yo, dude.
I usually call people bro.
Alright, bro's good. And
Yeah.
honestly, at work, I call people brother.
Yeah.
Because
or like him, I'll be
MF-er.
like big dog.
Yeah, you know, but at work, if you call him MF-er, you might have some recourse. So I use brother at work. Yeah. Because, you know, work can be so much fun. So today's topic, I'll let you bring the subject up.
Okay, so I didn't really have like super specific idea, but like the concept in general is self-identity and like kind of I don't know, there's a lot of different avenues we can go down this, like your perception of things or your life experiences or things like that.
Exactly, and that's the fun part of an identity.
Yeah.
Because it's very multifaceted.
Exactly.
Good example, a cop.
Mhm.
When they put out a be on the lookout, a BOA, okay, they identify you as. For me, they say, which is not 100% correct, white male. They'd probably give me 6 feet, which is about right. And generally speaking, they'd probably guess my weight about 165. So two things are off on. But it would be the identifiers that they would need to help narrow me down.
Yeah.
But in no way are any of those my identity.
Yeah, like if those things change, you would still be you.
That's right.
Yeah, which I think is.
You know, let's say I go to work, come back, I got no legs. Now I'm only so tall.
Yeah.
I'm no longer 6 feet in any way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, you know, it would probably still be on my paperwork that I'm 6 feet.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Now, what I find is funny is today is we really seem to be narrowing down in conversation what identity is, because we're getting into all this weirdness with identities. There's 3 million different genders. More and more people are identifying by what you would call race, which is actually ethnicity. And see, so I mean, identity is a little weird. Generally speaking, I really don't have an identity that I go by other than my name. Now, other people have identified me as other things. Here's a good question, and this is one. Now, he works in the food service industry. I don't know if you know this. I'm a painter.
I didn't, but your card had
Oh.
photography on it, so I figured it was something similar.
Okay, now,
Yeah.
and that's another thing is, all right, so to me, part of your identity is food service worker.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now, at the same time, you quit that job tomorrow,
Yeah.
you're still kind of, to me, going to be the food service worker. Now, that's not how I recognize you, but deep down, that's part of that identity that has been built by our associations.
Yeah.
You know, now, you've never seen my painting. I don't know if you've seen my photography.
No.
But on both occasions, they're not tied together. So
Interesting.
the people who know me for painting don't know me for photography. The people who know me for photography don't know me for painting. even though I was doing both tasks, not simultaneously, but during the same time period. I mean, literally, before I go to work, I might run off to the ocean because there's a cool sun or moon set and try and catch that on the Gulf or something.
Interesting.
And then bolt off to work after that. You know, so it's one of those times people didn't realize that's part of who I am, which that is part of what your identity is.
Yeah, because, like, let's say that you don't go see that sunset, right? That would be almost opposite. That's like almost a different person, right? You know, imagine that you in another universe that doesn't make the decisions. That's why I find the topic of like the concept of like multiverses and like parallel realities and things like that. I find that so interesting because, you know, it makes me ponder how much one decision really does impact you, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think about that when I go to make decisions a lot of the time, and I'm just like, damn, I wonder if I would have picked the other option, because I guess this is part of who I am. I'm also a gamer most of the time.
Okay.
And to really be good at games, you have to analyze every facet of your play, right?
Yes.
How you move, how you think,
Yep.
how you feel.
Let alone all of that with the opponent as well.
Exactly. And so I do that, I practice that in my day-to-day life as well. So like when I'm interacting with people, I think about my interactions and the options that I could have chose instead. And I think, I wonder if I chose those other options, what the outcome would be, or what kind of person I would be, or does that make me a different kind of person for thinking those options? But then the paradox there is like, I can only think of the options that I think of.
Yes.
So maybe there's options that I am not even capable of conceiving, even though that might not be the reality.
And that kind of leads me to the question too, is how much does your experiences, life experiences,
Yeah.
create the identity that you carry with you?
Yeah, and I think that question can really only be answered through research, analyzing a lot of different people. You know, everyone is always on this. Everyone's unique,
Yeah.
and everyone has their own thing, and, you know, their bodies work differently. Everyone makes different decisions. Everybody likes different things. But there are core common human concepts that kind of connect everybody as well.
Yep.
So I think through research, and we have done research on this topic, which is like,
Oh God, yeah.
yeah, on like people's predisposition in life,
Yep.
leading to certain amounts of success, or, you know,
Or failure.
or failure, you know, depending on, you know, how successful or unsuccessful your parents are, or the people that raise you, or your friends growing up, how successful they were, or their parents were, things like that, determining your outcome, really your environment. And I think most people have come to the conclusion that your environment really does determine a lot of your success. However, we are humans, therefore we can think outside the concepts of, or not outside, because obviously you wouldn't be able to think outside of reality,
Right.
but you can kind of broaden your horizons by really incorporating logical thought and critical thinking into your day-to-day life, and really analyzing like what are my options. Like here's where I am in life, and here's the people that surround me. Is this the most beneficial thing for me, or am I willing to sacrifice some things? Like, okay, so for instance, let's say your parents are kind of poor and your friends are kind of poor and they're kind of uneducated,
Mm-hmm.
but they make you genuinely happy and they're genuinely good people and they genuinely care for you.
Right.
It's worth sacrificing some of those other things, I think, at least for me personally,
Right. Right.
to have those people in my life, because even though they might not lead to my like logical or objective or financial success, I think those people are worth having because they bring that companionship. And I think that's a really important part of human nature, is companionship and, you know, bonding and things like that. And that's the kind of person that I am.
I agree. I agree. So you believe that a lot of what creates your identity is not just your environment, but associations.
Yes, which would play a part in experience. This is kind of like subcategories of experiences.
Yes. Yes.
So,
So in that same way, now mind you, I come from an immensely huge family.
interesting. Oh yeah, you were telling me about that the one day. Yeah.
Yes, 12 of them I've known, 16 of us total.
Jeez.
So I've got
In your immediate family?
Yeah.
Holy.
brothers and sisters.
I have one brother, and then everyone else is extended family.
I can spare them.
That's crazy.
How many you want? Girls, guys,
I don't-
it
I
doesn't
don't-
matter. Old, young, I got the gambit here, brother.
Shit.
But-
And you single? No, just kidding.
No. Well, damn sure ain't hooking up with them.
Oh boy.
But nonetheless, it's funny because in that same way, when I see all the kids I see, I have an obscenely large number of nieces, nephews, great nieces and nephews, outnumber them. Okay? I think they're in the 30s, and the nephews and nieces are in the 20s. And I don't mean age, I mean number of
Yeah, I
them.
know. Damn.
So I've gotten to see quite a few kids go through the different stages, and at that, be in the various economic levels
Yeah.
and various mindsets. Because as you say, you know, the mindset of the people you're around can heavily influence you,
course.
as well as honestly how affluent you are can influence you. But I have to say, after watching so many little booger eaters grow up, there is a certain aspect to everybody that you are basically who you are when you are 5. Now, it's not.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, it's not necessarily identity-wise. Okay, you've met
Oh,
little.
you think like people's core instincts kind of
Yes,
develop
you've
when they're
met
younger?
little kids who are just little assholes.
Oh, of course. Of
Okay.
course. Yeah.
They're always going to be assholes.
What are you
Even
doing?
if she's a, she can't hear, but she got a hell of a sense of smell to her. Generally speaking, though, there's another way to put it. Every group's had a kid who's a sad sap.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we
I was
call it
kinda that kid.
clinical depression and
I
whatnot.
mean, that was kind of me, honestly, growing
Okay.
up. I was part of like I wasn't really part of like a group, but like I feel like the people that I identified with the most growing up was like the emo and the goth kids, and
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Which, not to say that that's necessarily the same, because a lot
well,
of that
yeah,
was motif, was style, fashion of the period.
well, the technical definition of those, but like I think a lot of the social, not stigma, I don't even know the word for it, but like emo and goth kids in most schools, at least in my generation, were the depressed kids that listened to metal and wore black. You know, that's just kind of the stock standard.
Okay.
Even though technically by definition those are simply fashion styles and, you know, music tastes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But honestly now it's kind of all encompassing, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. Now, but and this was kind of going to the point is, in that same way that one little kid who's always an asshole will always be one. There's always like the little kid who's like, man, he's really smart. He's got his ducks in a row, even at a young age.
Yeah.
And more than likely, as you watch them through life, they will maintain that.
Yeah,
Now, that's not to say that, you know, kids don't go through the normal BS when you hit your teens.
of
and
course, yeah.
hormones hit and you go haywire, but
Yeah.
you even still then will maintain a certain amount of that core person you are. Now,
Yeah.
I can tell you, not only as a twin, but being
You have a
fascinated.
twin?
Yes.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Which is really funny because people go, man, you look like so and so. It's never my twin. Once in my life has it ever been my twin, out of hundreds of times. Oh my God, yeah. But in that same way, twins are, personality-wise, often one different from the other. Now, they won't vary in extreme, but one will be a little more successful. In my case, my twin is the more successful.
I mean, I don't know how successful he really is, and I
Well,
know you're probably about to say he's objectively more financially successful, but I don't know. I feel like success
not
could
just
be.
financially. And goals he set are higher.
So you think he's like
And what he-
objectively more happy than you are?
No,
See, that's the thing is like I kind of define success a little bit differently than
But-
just financial.
I've always been the happier one.
Exactly. So
Now, he's not moody and he's not a sad one and
Oh,
he's
yeah.
not unhappy. but at the same time, I've always been that little goofier, happier, almost sillier.
Yeah.
Now, that's never changed in all these years. And even though my situation on many times has not necessarily been where I'd want to be in life, there's still a certain self-worth, and that's where the happiness kind of comes from, having achieved.
Interesting.
You know, now he's also achieved and he's also happy, but if you met the two of us, and if you knew the two of us, you'd probably go, oh yeah, you're the happier, goofier one, and you're all right, but you're just not that goofy like he is. Speaking of goofy, go ahead, you got to push her down. If you keep petting her, she's just gonna stay there.
No, she
brother.
was just stepping on a spot that was
Yeah.
not
Oh
good.
no, I know she finds it every time.
Yeah.
But generally, what I'm saying is a lot of your identifying characteristics are developed at a younger age.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily, I believe, make you who you are,
Interesting. Okay.
but it is the raw material of
Like
who
the
you'll
base, like
become.
core components, you'd say.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
I don't know how much I subscribe to that.
Which, I mean, you can disagree completely. I'm fine with
I
that.
don't disagree completely.
But, I mean, if you did, no problem.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know. For me personally, I enjoy disagreeing with people because
You learn more.
even if, I don't know, this might be kind of toxic, I guess. Sometimes I'll intentionally disagree with people just to take a stance to see that if I can defend it or not, or how well they know their position.
That's a very good thing.
So, but
In
Yeah.
old terms, and I'm old enough to say old terms, that was considered playing the devil's advocate.
yeah, I do. Yeah, I say that a lot, and I do that a lot
And
on purpose.
Honestly, I do it, but I don't do it to benefit myself as much as, and I believe much in the way you're saying is I'll play devil's advocate to push the other person's thinking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I find that that's a very fine practice.
Now, it also depends on the person, right? Like, if I don't really give a fuck about them, I'm probably not going to challenge their views because I don't give a fuck what they view. I like this guy over here.
Right?
There's a person off camera. He's my buddy. I'd argue that he's my best friend. But he
I take it it's him you argue with that point.
well, we don't like argue. We don't get like screaming matches or anything. But
I'm not your best friend. Stop it.
no. I think he would agree as well.
Okay.
But like when we disagree on something, we talk about it. We're like, okay, and then we have a whole discussion on our viewpoints and we really get in depth about it. And let's say I do agree with something on him, but I feel like he might not be fully informed on a topic. I'll intentionally take the opposite position to see how much he knows about it.
Okay.
But then I'll clarify afterwards, like I don't actually believe that, but I was just saying,
Okay.
But I'm very transparent.
When this happens, we kind of have to give them their moment,
Fair enough.
or else you won't hear us. And it's actually a quiet day for that. Dude, this is the best area to ride dirt bikes in the whole world. I swear.
He
to
was
you.
talking about that as we were
You know
driving
about it,
here.
don't you?
Yeah, he wants an enduro really badly.
Hey, if you get one, man, work here and head out.
Hell yeah.
But generally speaking, though, coming back to the identity aspect of
Yeah.
that, so as we grow up and we start to develop these characteristics that are from the younger ages, that I believe is when we start to develop our personal identities. Not
Yeah.
necessarily how others see us, but how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
For me,
I'll agree with that. I think you start to develop.
yes.
I think.
Yes, and that's, for me personally, it's when you start combining those essentials of what your persona is
Mm-hmm.
and put that into play where you're going to have experiences where the opinions you've developed, the attitudes that go with it, and the mannerisms that go with it will now affect you both in actions you take and associations you make. And that's where the other half of your identity comes in. So as you're building your persona, you're not necessarily creating one that other people see that persona.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you might think you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and you might get some little kid that's like whatever, and he might think, geez, that's just a big, goofy looking dude. Now, little kids are awesome. They'll say stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, here we are, we're developing our personas in that younger era,
Mhm.
and, you know, developing, as I said, our identities. But at the same time, is it really our identities? Or is it just the identity we wish to have?
Yeah, maybe it's worth talking about like what identity is in general, like
Let's go for it.
what constitutes as identity, because in theory it's your sense of self, right? But it has to be based in reality, and then at that point it's like you're a human, right? You factor in other people's opinions, therefore at least a little bit of you would be based on other people's perception, even if only slightly. Like you might be the kind of like Sigma grind set where you like you don't give a fuck about what anybody else thinks and you do
Right.
your own thing, but there's still that like tiny little bit of you, because you know if you truly accept that kind of mindset, you have to understand that you don't know everything, right? You can't know everything, it's
Correct.
impossible. So there might be people, and that's the idea of being open-minded as well. Now I guess not everybody's open-minded, but like that idea
Not enough.
yeah, the idea is, you know, being able to be open-minded or closed-minded. Maybe that's the kind of person that you are. Maybe you're content with being closed-minded and you think that you can only determine what you know is correct, which is fair. But I think if you truly want to be correct, you have to at least give other people's opinions and actions and experiences at least a little bit of thought, because if you don't, I think you can get a little too narrow-sided, like a little too narrow-minded,
I agree.
and then you start developing delusions about reality, which that's a scary territory.
And truthfully, I feel it goes as much the other way too. If you allow other people to
I agree.
define you completely,
Yeah.
you lose yourself in it.
100%, I agree, absolutely.
And generally, I mean, I think part of a person's self-worth is when they can find that happy medium that, okay, well, people see you like this, but I see me like this.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, because it could be a bad thing. I mean, you could see yourself as, I don't know, I'm not one of these sad sacks, but you could see yourself as like, well, let's say there are people out there who see themselves as ugly.
I'd be one of those people.
I don't really judge guys, but I don't
Yeah.
see where you would say that.
Yeah,
But
I get
I've
that a
known-
lot from other dudes. But,
I've known
you
some
know.
homely mothers. I've known some, you ain't.
No, I believe you.
You
I
can't
believe
go
you.
for homely. You might be ugly, but you ain't homely. But no, seriously, if you had enough people sit there and say to you that, and I'm going to say,
Mhm.
not guys, because you just said
Yeah.
enough guys have told
This
you
guy
that.
over here, he's
Yeah.
like,
I
make
know.
jokes about it all the time, but yeah.
My joke's just the opposite. I always mess with people. Like,
Yeah.
When I talk about my twin, I'll be like, he looks just like me, just not quite as good looking. You know, or like the other day, I was talking to a customer about my boss. His name is almost the same as mine.
Okay.
Now they're going slow enough, we should be able to hear it.
Ooh, it's kind of a vibe.
I'm wondering if they're going to come down the street.
I think so. That was not what I thought it was gonna be.
And that's one of the crappier ones, dude. You
Dude.
should see some of these ones. They're
I
bad.
thought there was gonna be a bike.
That's one of those big, what they call them, side-by-sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an impressive one. Some of these ones are like 8 feet tall, 6 feet across, and they're beautiful. My brother's got one that's got like 1,000 horsepower.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
He come ripping down the street I was coming down the other day.
Yeah.
Must have been doing 90. Didn't even sound like he was cracking the throttle.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But, so generally speaking, in that same way, let's say if through most of your life, girls were telling you, yeah, absolutely.
I like that last one, even though it doesn't look
That last one's more my style too.
And
The first one's a grocery getter for mom and the kids.
yeah.
Hi, honey, I got you a 4x4.
You want Wendy's 4x4? That's the one you hop in the front.
But in that same way, and I've seen this too, where people are told they're very good looking from a young
Yeah,
age.
I've
And they
seen the
become
same
so full of themselves
Yeah.
when, all in all, they're no runway model. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? They're
100%.
not going to be in Vogue or, I don't know, GQ or whatever. You know what I mean? But they become full of themselves.
100%. Yeah,
And their identity to themselves is, oh, I'm so good looking.
exactly.
But that has been fed to them.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing too. I have two things to say about that actually. So one, the actual like almost polar opposite can happen. Like you can be told you're ugly and believe you're ugly, even if you are like conventionally attractive.
Yeah.
And it's very strange because I think that happens to a lot of women actually. Not to be, fully sexist. Obviously, it can happen to men as well. But I think what ends up happening to a lot of women is, or not a lot of women, but like I would say women that either perceive themselves or generally get perceived as conventionally less attractive. Not to say that they are necessarily unattractive or less attractive than other women, but it's like, I would look at them and be like, damn, that girl's hot. But then I would talk to her and she would be like hella depressed and she has like body dysmorphia and she feels like she doesn't look good. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like,
Yeah.
how?
Yeah. Yep.
In my head, I'm like, how? And I actually know someone like this. I know someone like this.
I've known a few myself. So.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because, she's attractive, almost conventionally. Like anybody would look at her and be like, yeah, she's a good-looking girl, but she doesn't think so. And I think, she might have been one of those people that got told that.
Yeah.
But then there's also the other end where it's like, imagine you receive no attention from women. Imagine a girl never hitting on you, which is really common for dudes.
Yeah.
Girls never hitting on you.
Yep.
Never asking you out. Never even like flirting with you or anything. Eventually, at least that's what happened to me, anyways. And I don't want people's like sympathy or anything or pity or shit like that, because I don't really feel like that anymore.
Yeah, I'm not one for giving pity and sympathy either.
But like, I was someone that's like, didn't. I thought I was ugly because no one else thought I was attractive, so I just ended up at the opposite end conclusion.
Okay.
And I feel like that can also happen. And there was a second thing I had to say on that. It was like, ooh, hold on. Okay. I forget what the second thing I had to say on that was, but yeah, that whole topic is very interesting. People's, not only their mental perception of themselves, but their physical perception of themselves. And I feel like that's where it starts. And I feel like that's how the Sigma mindset kind of starts. You're familiar with that, right?
No, but I think I can figure it out.
Yeah, so like the idea of the Sigma is this lone wolf that does everything himself, doesn't need help from anyone, makes his own money, does his own thing, doesn't need companionship, doesn't need friends, doesn't need family, doesn't need anything. He only needs himself and the mindset of improvement.
Basically a hermit.
Yeah, and I feel like it's unsustainable. I feel like it works short term for a lot of dudes, but we have a lot of biological instincts. So
Yes, and it's funny too because how much does our biology play into identity? And
that's
I
another
think
thing too.
that one's actually pretty obvious. I know the world
You think
seems
so?
to be going mad right now, but
In what way?
I swear to you, it's TikTok. I swear to you, my
In what
friend.
way do you think the world's going mad? I find that
It is
interesting.
okay. So, and this kind of gets away from the point.
Yeah,
but
I think I
hopefully-
know where you're about to go because I think I saw
hopefully
you talking about this in
I
another
can bring
video.
it back to it.
Yeah.
So, when I was younger, I was a window tinter.
Okay.
One of the identities I had was a
Interesting.
window tinter for many moons at that. I mean, damn near a dozen years.
Damn.
One of my competing window tinders was a person named Sam. Now, I didn't know Sam other than Sam did a fine job. Okay? Now, I've got no problem if you're in the same field as me. If you do a good job, I'll tell you do a good job. Sam did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
There was enough business, so we didn't have any adversarial competition or anything. So, in talking to somebody one day, I was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm busy enough, and I know there's probably times where Sam's busy enough. Maybe I should talk to him and say, hey, look, you get overflow, send them to me. I get overflow, I'll send them to you. So I'm telling this to the person who has dealt with this Sam person. And he turns to me and goes, just so you know, Sam was a girl.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Now this is in the 80s.
Oh.
Now, that kind of brings me to the point. That whole trans thing's been around.
I had a feeling you were going there.
Forever.
Uh-huh.
Benjamin Franklin spoke at the lady dance, which is still the term I think fits it best.
I think it's a little derogatory, if I'm being completely honest.
It was not meant to when it was said, and
See?
it was actually said as a praise, the lady boys, because that's what they are, boys who dress as ladies. Now,
Sort of.
okay, and
Okay.
this will take us away if we go into the whole
Yeah.
transgender thing too deeply.
Well, honestly, I think that is a part of self-identification, to be honest. I think it fits the topic, to be fair, but it is a giant rabbit hole, so.
But you notice, though, is people are changing their identities.
See, here's the thing is,
Not through an experience.
I don't think that's changing your identity. I think, and that's another thing, I think, on that child thing. So, for instance, you feel like you maintain or, you know, kind of start building upon your core foundation as a child.
Right.
And I think what ends up happening is people will suppress their nature in a way. Like, that's why I feel like, I don't know how to explain this. It's like,
We got plenty of time, so
yeah, no, of course. No, I'm just trying to think. Like, kind of people's glow ups. Are you familiar with that term?
Never heard it.
Interesting. Okay, so a glow up is a really common thing on social media where, like, people will be conventionally unattractive and then they'll end up attractive when they're older and either, or may or may not have a personality change, per
Okay.
se. And I think that kind of is the same thing with the trans person, as I think a lot of people suppress their nature to kind of fit in when they're younger. And then as they get older, they realize, like, for instance, that's why the whole being in the closet is
Right.
really a thing, right? Because they want to fit in. They, like,
Not so much anymore.
well,
I
not
can
so-
tell you, having lived through the era of them really being in the closet
Yeah.
to them coming out. I mean,
Yeah.
before all the pride thing and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah.
And the truth is basically everybody knew somebody was gay. They weren't really
That's
in the
the
closet.
thing, is like,
They just hid it for basically to be able to get along socially.
yeah, and I think
And
that is a
for
similar thing with trans people. I think, at least based on research, you know, obviously I can't say I'm not a trans person. I don't
Right.
want to speak for the trans people, but I do want to say that it's very evident that a lot of people that quote unquote don't fit in socially early on, they figure this out like very early, like
Right.
as early as, like, you know, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, like very fucking early in their childhood, that there's something off, and they don't have like the brain capacity to really fully grasp what they're feeling. Now a lot of people end up either disregarding the trans thing altogether, or maybe it's
Right.
like a sexuality thing, or who knows.
I
But
don't
yeah.
necessarily disregard it, and or nor dismiss it or anything like that. But I think it's kind of a mechanism of the social media, and I of course mentioned TikTok because that's where it's just, dude, it's everywhere. I don't even
It
have
is.
TikTok.
It is.
But every video I see about that is a TikTok video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most of them are pro. You almost never see a TikTok that's anti. It's all pro.
Usually the anti ones will blow up for a little bit and then they'll go away.
Right. and the reason they'll blow up is because people will jump on them, beat them up, call them all sorts of bad names because they don't agree.
Well, not
with them.
bad names.
Oh no, they
I
call
think the
them bad
majority
names.
is opposing the actual opinion, but I think the ones that blow up are the ones that are very exaggerated and overdone. Like, this guy's a piece of shit because he's anti-trans and etc.
All right, well, we'll use the example of J.K. Rowling in that, because that's a fun
Interesting. That's a recent one. Okay.
She is, and she blows up huge.
Yes.
If she says something that is considered
Well, no, she's like
good
blatantly
sense.
she's like blatantly homophobic and transphobic.
No, she is not homophobic.
Or
All right.
okay, maybe not homophobic,
Or
but definitely transphobic.
in real, this is a little bit of a sidebar to the sidebar we're on.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. What's a phobia?
See, I feel like that's kind of a loaded question because
Pretty straightforward question, brother.
it can be straightforward. However, the technical definition is your fear of something.
No.
However,
Nope.
However,
you're wrong. I hate
phobia-
to tell you. A phobia is an irrational or extreme fear.
the thing
If
is
it's-
it
if
can be
it's not-
used blanketedly. Like,
That's the problem. It is used blanketed. But see, and this is one of the things that's bothering me and why I feel more conversation is needed amongst all of us.
Mhm.
And I don't mean social media conversation, because
you know, like face to face.
yes, because you can't see the glint in somebody's eye, the smile, the smirk. You can't read the body.
No, 100%.
And at that, even tone and tenor of
Yeah, tone is
what
lost a lot of
somebody
the time.
says.
In text.
You know what I mean? Because you put a good example is damn it. Right? You say damn it.
Interesting.
Is it a good damn it or a bad damn it?
Honestly, now I'm thinking about it, that is a good
The
example.
tone
Yeah.
and honestly the tenor. In other words, where it kind of which way the note flows in
Yeah.
musical sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But that has a lot to do with it, and I think by us not having a true social interaction, and this, hopefully I'm leading back to the trans stuff to
Okay.
basically walk out of it. But
yeah.
in that way, we have developed the belief that something that's been around for thousands of years, since man has been around,
Yeah.
there has always been effeminate men,
Sure.
and there's always been manly women.
Sure.
Matter of fact, the what is it, Woman King or whatever?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's
to
a
be honest.
movie on. They made it.
I don't watch that many
It's
movies.
about an African tribe that took on the English people, and the woman wound up taking control of the tribe, and it was basically an all-woman army. They got their asses stomped, but they were some tough broads. You know what I mean? Very masculine, but they were by no means men. You know what I mean? Now, in that same way, India and I think it's Indonesia have some of the longest history,
I have no idea.
especially India. Yeah, I know. I really wish you could hear it. I really wish. But they've always had those. So I think the whole trans thing has been blown up, and people are creating false personas
Interesting.
to fit in.
Maybe.
Because,
See, here's the thing.
everybody's getting so much attention because they put on makeup, grew their hair long, and now talk funny.
See, here's the thing is, I partly agree. I agree that there are some people that do it to fit in, but I
Okay.
don't think it's the majority.
Well, we've had I think the numbers have been said to be a 4,000% increase.
Yeah.
And people considering themselves trans
Yeah.
in 2 years.
Yeah. I would
Now,
believe those statistics.
honestly,
However,
if those numbers were 4,000 over 20 years,
uh
10 years, but over 2 years,
here's the thing is, once again, small minority. Maybe it's the vocal minority. It might be the vocal minority. I can't say like exactly, but
I agree.
I still think that, and obviously it's not objective, it's very subjective,
Mhm.
but I still think the majority are legitimate trans people. Like, it is legitimately a concept that exists within our brains that we are not able, sorry, bad word, but that we don't fully perceive our genders until we perceive our genders. But I think that the way that most people are raised is they're kind of shoved into it, right? Like, you're given blue clothes as a baby, as a boy. You're given pink clothes as a girl. You're given Barbie dolls as a girl. You're giving trucks as a boy. You know, your friends as you're growing up in like first, second, third, fourth grade, they're skateboarding, they're surfing, they're playing sports. Girls are cheerleading and things like that.
So I come from a very old-fashioned family like that.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do I believe, but most of my siblings as well, believe in the standard, stereotypical gender, not only role,
Mm-hmm.
but...
I hate traditional gender roles.
You know what I'm saying? But they work. They produce...
I don't agree.
They produce the society.
I think divorce rate being as high as it is proves that they absolutely do not work.
Well, we wouldn't have people if they didn't work.
That's not true. We have basic human instinct, therefore we would be mating regardless. But I think the fact that couples don't stay together for so long shows that traditional gender roles probably... I'm not saying that traditional gender roles are a part of the problem, but... Or, not a part of it. It is a part of the problem. I'm not saying it's the majority of the problem, but it definitely is a part.
Huh. Okay. Now, generally speaking, trying to wheel this back to the
Yeah, we're
pitch.
so off topic,
No,
it's not even
but,
funny.
and really we're not, because that does
yeah.
all have to do with identity. So
Yeah.
we still are on topic. We're just not on the main
Bit
part
a-
of it,
bit
so
of a
to speak.
tangent, yeah.
But generally speaking, that is they're identifying that way.
Yeah, but I
Now,
feel like...
to tell you the truth,
Anyways. Yeah.
all right, and I know there's a few of them around here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'll give you a good example. There's one at the Sonics. It's a dude. It's
Interesting.
obviously a dude. There's no question it's a dude.
Okay.
My only issue I have with this dude, he puts on makeup, he's got the long hair.
Uh-huh.
He does something that is just the dumbest thing because he doesn't know what it signifies.
Interesting.
I think he's trying to appear sexy.
Yeah, maybe.
But he has his shirt up and then tied in a knot in the back.
Yeah.
Thing is, he's bringing me my food like that. I want to see your
Okay.
freaking gut. You know what I mean? Dress appropriate for work.
Maybe that's work appropriate.
It is if you're in jail and your job is servicing men. Because in jail, if you pull your shirt up like that and tie it in a knot, or the other one is to pull it through in the front like that, you're open for business.
Okay.
Okay? This guy obviously doesn't know that, and it also looks so very
See, the thing
unprofessional.
about... You think it looks unprofessional?
Oh my God, he looks
do
like
the
a
other
slob.
do girls
He's got a
dress
fat
like
gut.
that?
No, I've never
Okay,
had my
see, it's
food
different.
brought to me by a woman
Yeah, see, that's
with her shirt pulled up to over her belly, so you can see a fat little belly there. It's not like he's in shape with a six-pack ab or anything.
yeah.
And then the shirt, I never in my life. I'm 57 going on 58. Never in my life. I've been to Hooters. I've been to Wing House. You got hotties skimped out. I mean,
Yeah.
showing quite a bit of flesh. But it's always done in a way that doesn't look stupid. And this just looks stupid. And I just want to tell him, look, nobody cares that you're gay. Nobody cares that you think you're a chick. Stop doing your shirt like that. Untie that freaking shirt. Yeah. Now, at the same time, I don't say anything to him because my real peeve with him is, damn it, I told you no cheese.
What? Are you lactose intolerant?
Over the last number of years, I've had some gut issues.
Gotcha.
And
Okay, I was
can
wondering why
only
you get
eat
no
a limited
cheese.
number of things these days,
I always wondered
or
about
suffer great deals of pain. Yes,
that. Interesting. But you get cream in your coffee. That's interesting.
but it's not much.
No, that's fair. Yeah,
And usually it's not real milk.
that's true. Well, we use heavy whipping cream. So.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder it tastes so good. Still, you got to get those idiots to stay on that stern thing, dude. 3 times in a row, and none of them were from you. Huh?
I don't know who that is who's messing up your coffee, but some people don't stir it
They
that
don't?
much. And I'm like, how do you not? How do you not? Like, that's how we're trained.
We're all good here, Tom.
Oh.
That's a bully who would shred all 3 of us in seconds.
Hell yeah. Well done.
And my baby brother.
Oh.
Yeah, I say baby brother. He's got probably 40 pounds on him, and he's 6'4".
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But generally speaking, I'm guessing that young man identifies as a woman.
See, here's the thing: is
His identity, his identity to me is the jackass who keeps putting cheese on my shit. Because every time I pull up there, I hear his voice. Every time I see him, my first thought is, it's that jackass who put cheese on my shit. Now, that's not his identity.
no, obviously not.
But that's how I identify him. I don't identify him by his transgender
I wonder
status.
if maybe you should
And
more so make the
Now,
distinction.
let me go ahead and finish this
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, sorry.
Sam, young lady Sam, who lived as Sam, since the smell kicked in. Fine window tinner.
Oh yeah, I remember. Now.
That's who
yeah.
Sam. That's who Sam was to me. A
Uh-huh.
window tinner.
Yeah.
Wasn't a dudette or whatever.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and I'm just window tinner.
Mhm.
So now at the same time, that's how she identified. Though she lived as a man, she was a window tinner. So
Yeah.
generally speaking, this brings us back to the somewhat dual thing of identity.
Yeah. So.
Whereas in our own, doesn't mean shit to anybody else but us. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Sort
as
of.
your friend would probably tell you, he identifies you as this or that,
Yeah. Sure.
as you identify him as this or that.
Yeah.
But honestly, if
Assume.
somebody else ever walked up to you guys, who knows what we would identify you as?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel I sort of kind of feel like we're having two different conversations here. I feel like we're having one conversation about identity and then another conversation about gender because even though they are mutually exclusive.
And I was trying to steer us back away from the gender.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
really, I don't want to go there until I go there, and that's
Yeah.
going to be a fun discussion one day.
yeah.
But at the same time, we have gone pretty deep
Yeah,
into
it is part of who you are. Here's my thing, right? Here's my thing about gender. And I'll leave it at this, right? Who are you to say whose gender is who, right? You could say that person looks like a man, or that person looks like a woman, or they don't look like either. Like, if, for instance, non-binary people, a lot of non-binary people don't look like a man or a woman, to be fair.
They used to call that androgynous. Not
Well,
so many years ago.
You know, that became a little derogatory. So we changed the label
And
for
it's
it.
funny, what's derogatory? And this is one of the things that gets me.
Mhm.
All right, and this stays on the identity thing.
Mhm.
There's so many identities now.
Sure.
So many. Not only do you have
Do you
the
think there's a problem with that?
you have the Alpha Mafia. Not only do I think we have a problem with it, I think it's
Interesting.
intentional. I'll get to
I'll
the
agree. I
intent.
think it's intentional, but
I'll
I don't
get to
think it's
the
a problem,
intentional.
actually.
I think part of the problem is that we've become more narcissistic, and in
Interesting.
that way, we feel we must have an identity. Now, honestly, like I said,
Interesting.
I don't identify as anything but my name.
Sure, yeah.
I don't identify as the painter, the photographer dude,
Yeah.
or even I've worked at restaurants. Not a chef, but cook. I don't, Not
Yeah, so
saying-
you would never have someone say, like, that guy, insert your name, whatever your name is.
No, I just say my name.
You would just say,
Usually it's with like asshole before or after it.
Yeah, no,
And usually skinny.
I guess it's more like reference when someone perceives you, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
no one would ever be, like, for instance, your brother. Your brother would never be like, oh, insert your name, that guy's an asshole. He would just say, oh, insert your name,
Asshole.
asshole. Interesting. Okay.
Now, in that same vein of thinking, we have suddenly, and I say suddenly because it really only has been over the last few years,
I'll agree. Okay.
have decided that everybody else has to see us how we see us.
That's an interesting theory because...
And it's not even a modest insistence, it's a demand these days. You must see me how I see me.
Yeah, because it's kind of interesting, right? And once again, this is a matter of perception of self. It's really invalidating. Like, let's say you're really good at something. For instance, I'm a gamer. Now, I'm not that good at a lot of games.
But let's say you
But,
are.
yeah, let's say I'm like literally top 10 on the leaderboard for whatever game, and let's say it's a popular game because the more popular,
Let's
the
say
more
like
competition
Fortnite
you
or
have.
something.
Yeah, sure. Let's say you're a top 10 Fortnite player. There's a lot of pride that goes into that, and then if someone calls you dog shit, like you're bad at the game,
Yeah.
that's very invalidating. And it's objectively not true, right? You're top 10 in the world. That is objectively, wow. I don't know. That's another
Now,
conversation.
Let me ask you this: if top 9 says that, or if top 5 says that to top 10,
Yeah. See, like once again, it's a matter of your perception of good. However, in comparison to the majority, you are better than 99.99% of people. Therefore, you would be objectively good.
but the person who's on the top rungs would be able to say you suck. You
Fair.
don't suck, but they would kind of earn that right.
Fair. However, once again, like let's say because that we don't have that kind of standing in society. You're not above someone else just because you're a man. You're not above someone else just because you're a woman. Does that make sense? So I think that's the distinction there.
And see, that's kind of one of those weird things too. Is in certain fields, yes and no.
But the thing is that does not have to do with your gender. That has to do with your like social standing or your like profession. Like for instance, being a top 10 Fortnite player,
Right?
I would not like say to the top 10 Fortnite player, "Damn, you are bad at being a man," because maybe he doesn't pay child support and lives with his parents in his basement and has no life, and
See, now that's funny because I probably would.
that's the distinction between you and I is
Well, that's
I would not.
how
Well, not
things-
you and I specifically.
No, but
like,
that's how through time things
Yeah.
have changed.
yeah.
Now I bring that back to the social media. I really do.
You think so? I mean, I definitely think it has a
Because-
good part in it.
Having watched so many kids grow up,
Yeah.
generally speaking, when we got into the DVD and well, actually VCRs first and then DVDs, parents stopped parenting. Kids stopped being kids. All right. Instead of
Interesting.
when I was young, and mind you, coming from a big family,
Yeah.
my stepmom, which I moved in with my dad and my stepmom when I was 10.
Uh-huh.
We immediately had one younger brother. Then shortly thereafter, 3 more came. So 7 of us in the house. First thing in the morning, you kids get outside. So there's no TV, there's no nothing but us.
Yeah.
So we're developing who we are at a young age because we're having physical interactions, conversations,
Yeah.
and even sharing certain things like foods and whatnot. Oh, that's so and so, he can't eat cheese. You
No,
know
I
what I'm
raised
saying?
this question. Do you think that's not possible through social media?
Yes, I do.
You think that's impossible?
Yep.
Interesting.
I really
I
do.
completely disagree because I have actually, personally, I know this from personal experience, I have built connections and relationships with people that I know will last a lifetime.
That's not to say you haven't. Okay. Let's say all electricity goes away for 10 years. They still your friends.
Yeah,
Do you interact with them at all?
maybe not. But even in real life, like for instance, because I don't drive obviously,
Right.
or not obviously.
Still
to them.
disappointed in that.
Yeah, not obviously to them, but yeah, I don't have a license.
Which, if that little blue thing was running, we'd get you on a stick shift and out in the woods.
I want to learn how to stick shift. I want to drive. Apparently, in this state, you can just go and take your driver's test. I did not know that. I've been working to get my permit for a little while now. I just found out, like,
when you're 15.
yeah, the other day, my friend was like, "You don't need your permit. Once you're over, like, I think it's like 18 or 21, you can just go and take the
Once
test."
you're over 16.
Yeah, well, okay. So once you're over 16, you can just go and take the driver's test. Like, you don't even need a permit.
Yep.
So now I'm gonna focus on that. Now I'm gonna actually do like driving practice.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, and try and go get my license without getting a permit because,
The
it's
freedom.
it's a free step,
Yep.
But fuck, what were we talking about?
Back to the identity. Which is
Yeah.
funny because once you get your ID, your identity is somewhat locked in.
Yeah,
Now, not
Damn, I forgot where I was going with
necessarily
that.
personally or socially,
Yeah.
but as far as the government is concerned, your identity's locked in. Now,
Sure,
yes, these days you can change your sex on your ID to be whatever,
Mhm.
but, and this goes back to the social media thing,
Mhm.
if you've not shared experiences with somebody,
Mhm.
then you've not built those essential factors that truly make a friend.
That's what we were talking about. Genuine
Yes.
connections. Oh yeah, even if, so let's say the electricity goes out, I wouldn't even be able to talk to this guy, and he lives 10 minutes away from me. So I think it's not a matter of distance.
You could walk to his house.
But here's the thing: I could get to my other friend's house as well. Now, a lot of them live in different states, but I could still technically get to them if I really, really put my mind to it.
Truly. But without having shared experience, and I'll give you an example. A young lady who I'm very fond of, and we're very friendly.
Interesting.
Okay, she's a little haughty, but I'd like to know who she is a little bit, and I wouldn't mind hooking up with her. And I don't mean just folding her in half, hooking up. I mean, hanging out with her and everything like that.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'd like to hang out with her first and get to know who she is a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, one day in pressing her on this issue,
Mhm.
I said, you act like we're friends. And she goes, well, we are friends. I said, no, we're friendly. And she says, what's the difference? Friends share experiences.
Interesting.
One of my favorite ways to initiate a friendship, oddly enough, not burning, but that's the second part of this,
Fair
is
enough.
what they call breaking bread. To
I've
share
heard that
a
term.
meal.
Yeah.
It's one of the best ways to begin a friendship, I think, because you get to see a certain nature of a person when they eat. Because, I mean,
Sure,
dude,
yeah.
I've had friends that sit there and smack their lips when they eat.
Oh, that's me.
Oh, my God, dude.
I eat every meal like it's my last meal. Just fucking. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love it.
Oh my God, dude. That stuff drives me nuts.
I
It really
know.
does.
One of my friends that I grew up with, he hates it. He absolutely fucking hates it, and it's so funny because sometimes I do it intentionally just to piss him off.
Yeah, I've had friends do stuff like that. Like the cackling thing. I hate the sound of a person cackling, whether it's a woman or a man. And this guy had a really awesome cackle. My God, I wanted to hit him with a bat every time he did it. And don't get me wrong, he was one of my best buddies. I would have just punched him. I wouldn't have hit him with a weapon.
No, of course.
But at the same time, it's like, stop! And he would do it just knowing it would piss me off.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things. The shared experience also lends itself to the identity factor, as we mentioned early on, is by me having experiences, that helps develop self-worth or lack of. If I keep getting my ass whipped in the game all the time, I might think, oh man, I'm really sick of this thing and freaking playing the game. And honestly, few times in life there have been where I've done bad and I ain't never doing this again. And then somebody goes, hey man, you want it? Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
know
Every
what I mean?
time. Every time.
Now, part of the reason I was here, yeah, let's go, is because I wanted the interaction, I wanted the
Yeah.
companionship, the
Of
friendship.
course. Yeah.
Now, at the same time, it's still like, a good example. My twin loves to play Yahtzee.
Oof.
Yeah, I don't care for it.
That's not it.
I've played every time he asks.
Yeah.
I lose every time. And it's not to say he wins every time,
Yeah, sure.
but he bests me every time. I'm okay with that. Yes, I'll play it. I'd rather play dominoes any day.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Throwing bones, a lot more fun. We don't play because his old lady's a math teacher, and the simple thing just screws her up. It's hilarious. So I don't even bring it up anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That night, I'm a ball buster.
Yeah,
So
same.
if I'm sitting there with a calculus teacher and you're not adding up 5, 2,
Yeah,
and 3 and
yeah.
coming up with 10 that quick, the hell are you doing teaching a kid?
Yeah.
Same time, kudos to her for even doing that.
Of course, yeah.
But
I have a lot of respect for teachers.
Yeah, generally speaking, I do. Generally speaking.
Oh,
I do.
yeah, obviously. not
I
everyone's
think
good,
we've
but
elevated them a bit much these days.
I don't think so. Because they still get paid fucking dog shit.
Do you know what they make?
Yeah, a lot of them don't make that much money.
What do they make? What do they start at?
Okay, the teachers that I knew growing up,
No.
none of them made more than
No.
$50K a year.
That's good money in Florida.
The fuck it is.
It is good money in Florida.
I could not.
Dude,
Oh, actually,
you
maybe I
live
could.
high on the hog at 50 grand a
Okay,
year.
all I'm saying, I make about 20K a year. I could not live on my own. It would be
It is
financially
difficult.
impossible.
It's very difficult.
So 50K, that's like barely cutting it. I could maybe live with a roommate like that.
You could live very well at 50K.
Definitely not frugally. No way.
Honestly, I mean, I think I'm up to 32 now. Now, at the same time, in this case, I find myself set. It's not the situation I wish it was,
Sure.
but I'm generally set, so I haven't.
Are you like a
worries.
minimalistic person? Like
No.
you only buy what you need?
No,
or-
no, because I piss up money like everybody else.
Yeah, I do too.
That's why I ain't got a dick in my pocket for money.
Yep.
But at the same time, okay, I don't find I have to live up to things.
That's true.
And
No, I wasn't even
part
saying
of that. Part of that is my character, my persona, and not necessarily my identity, but one of the things that helps create the identity that people see is that I ain't spending that money. I don't need to.
Yeah, I would say that
and
is a
don't get
part
me
of
wrong,
your
because I'm
identity.
the guy who go, hey, I'm going to McDonald's. You want anything? You go, oh, I'm broke. It's all right. I'm buying for everybody. Man, I can't afford that shit. But I just get in those moods every once in a while. It's like, you know what? I want McDonald's. I don't give a shit if you got $1 in your pocket or not. We're going to have a meal.
That's him and I. That's him and I.
That's cool. And
That's,
I mean, I'll do it with strangers.
Yeah, we
But
yeah.
that also is, for me, the breaking of bread as well. So
Yeah.
now I sit with my coworkers and we have a meal and we talk.
Yeah, I would say that is a part of your identity because, one, you obviously value shared experiences. Maybe some people don't value that.
Some people do not.
So I would say that is a part of your identity, but also you're not materialistic, right? You might like to buy things, but
Yeah, I'm not bad with it. No.
yeah, like for instance, I don't know if he's gonna watch this video. I don't know if I should say it. Fuck it, he's not gonna see this video. My
Yeah.
mom's boyfriend, he is an absolute dickhead, and he's very materialistic. Like he'll buy something for my mom,
Okay.
and if she says anything negative about it, or like let's say it's like a bracelet or something, and she doesn't wear it one day, he'll just pop off on her. Like, I bought that bracelet for you. Do you know how much that costs?
I could go deep into the psychoanalyzing of that whole thing. But-
Yeah, no, he is very manipulative.
And it's
abusive.
funny too because, well, that makes his identity to you a bit of an asshole. He could be
Yeah.
a nice guy in but he could be a nice guy
Well,
in every
yeah,
other aspect.
in another universe, yeah.
And this is for me. This is in that same kind of vein as
Yeah.
you're speaking of. Obviously, my father was not necessarily a faithful man.
Fair enough.
16 kids. You
Hey,
ain't gonna be faithful.
not
And
every-
I've
not
only
for
ever in
everyone,
my
yes.
life met one family that had that many kids, and it was one mom and dad.
I don't even think that's like. I don't think
It's-
most women could mentally handle that.
No, not in today's world. They could barely handle 2 kids. Yeah, that's part of the problem.
I don't know if I want to say all that. But
No, really. You see more and more of it where 2 kids is all they want. And at that, they want a boy and a girl, and they'll be happy. I see too much of that.
Interesting.
Um,
I mean, I don't even think that's women. I think that's just most people nowadays.
because the difficulties that come in raising a family.
Well, yeah, the financial burden, burden's a bad word, but
No,
the
no,
financial
no.
responsibility is
Yeah.
very fucking high.
Yes.
Off rip.
Yes.
Like,
Yep. Now it's funnier because it is cheaper the more you get.
that's true with like tax write-offs and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's something I can go into. But
That's a whole nother topic.
And see, that's the thing is there are so many topics to talk about.
Yeah.
But in the identity aspect, my father, well, generally speaking, as far as a dude, he's a pretty awesome dude. He's a manly man, ladies' man,
I can tell.
friendly, personable, athletic.
Uh,
It's not necessarily how we saw him.
yeah.
Now,
Interesting.
it's funny too because people are a little surprised by that.
Huh.
Because like, man, yeah, your dad's awesome, man. And they've known him for years.
Mhm.
It's like, to you. And that just throws them off. What do you mean to you? He's not your dad, brother. You didn't
Yeah.
go through what we went through in life, so you see him in one way, I see him in another. And I mean, to me, you know, he is who he's not dead. He was who he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No changing it. Never hope to change it. And honestly, some of the worst side of him created some of the better sides of us because we
Man.
didn't want to be that person.
I connect with that point so much because the way that he acts, it is a constant reminder of not to act that way. So on one hand, I'm sort of kind of grateful that I know he exists,
Right.
because you see it in reality, you experience it firsthand. You're like, it is a very big driving factor to not act like that, not be manipulative, not be toxic, not be abusive. You know, be kind and caring and compassionate, and that's the kind of person that I strive to be. And in one hand, I'm grateful for that. But on the other hand, you know, I could have done without that. It's a lot of mental stress, a lot of emotional stress, physical stress sometimes even. Like my mom has been to the hospital from like heart palpitations and potential almost heart attacks.
From her being stressed.
Yes.
I
And
understand that.
and that shit kills me. And that's why I currently live with her, because one, she's got a muscle disease, so it's hard for her to do a lot of stuff on her own.
MS?
I don't know exactly what it's called.
Okay.
It's got some long name that I never memorized.
Medical stuff always does.
Yeah. But yeah, that's part of the, and also him, right? I can't trust him to act like a decent human being. Like if I ever moved out, I would still be close.
Yeah.
And I would check on her every day.
Yeah.
Make sure she's doing all right. Make sure she's got what she needs. Like, you know, for me, it's practical to live with my mom. It's not a matter of, and that's the thing that started kind of helping me internalize and compartmentalize, you know, being a modern day loser or whatever, you're living with your parents. But like some people just have those conditions and those things that they not necessarily expected to do, but they ought to do because, you know, that's your family.
Yes. Yes. Now, it's funny too because I really don't have necessarily an issue with somebody living with a parent because in the past it was not an uncommon thing that basically you'd have multiple generations in a house. And it would just, the cycle would repeat as grandma and grandpa died off, there'd come the grandkids and then...
Yeah, it's very frowned upon this day and age. Like if you're not living either on your own or just away from your parents, it's very frowned upon. Like, damn, you still live with your parents? You're either like a loser or, you know, if you're from the black community, you're a broke nigga. Like,
okay.
You a broke ass nigga, can't live on your own.
Yeah.
Can't pay your rent.
Hey,
or
it's a
well, I can
white
pay rent,
community
but,
and it's
yeah.
the same language.
Yeah.
It really is, dude. It really is.
You know, shit like that.
Now, see, I was also taught, and through life, I've had to move back in with my parents on a number of occasions.
Yeah, shit happens.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Usually it's, and I'm one of these personal responsibility kind of people, so every time it was my fault. Whether I spent too much, mouthed off at work, wanted losing a job, couldn't pay my bills, you know, just...
You have no idea how many times I do that.
Oh, well,
It's insane. Well, actually, maybe you do. I don't know why I said that.
I
but
understand
you
that
do.
completely. I really do. Now, at the same time, though, generally speaking, I don't think that affects your identity as much.
I think it can if you let it get to you, and
Yes.
it's very easy to let it get to you because it's like, damn, you see all these people around you. Like, okay, so if I go on Facebook, for me personally,
Right.
every single person that I grew up with is either in a relationship with kids, in a long term, like they're married with kids, or they're married with kids in a house.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of...
Or getting divorced.
Oh, well,
No,
I'm not at that
You're
stage.
not at it.
I have a few people
Give
that have
it
gotten
another
divorced.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but like that's the point that I'm at in my life. I'm 24 right now. I
Right.
just turned 24.
Yes. Once again,
yesterday.
happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
I just turned 24 yesterday, and just seeing that, looks like, because I go on Facebook like once or twice a year
Okay.
at this point. I don't really
Now,
go on Facebook that
Do
much.
you use other social media, and it's just
Sort
not
of.
Facebook itself?
So I use Discord, but once again, that's only to talk to my friends that I already have.
Okay.
And I do use TikTok a bit, but I'm a logical thinker. I'm a critical thinker. If I see like some opinionated stuff on my For You page, if it seems dumb, I probably won't give it much thought.
Right.
But if it is like an actual legitimate opinion, I'll actually think about it and form my own analysis on it, and which doesn't really happen often. I usually just use TikTok to pass the time. A little dopamine hit, move on.
Yeah.
And but other than that, no, I don't. I have Instagram, but it's only to stay connected with people.
Okay.
I have Snapchat, but only to stay connected with people. I barely ever use it. Facebook, same thing.
See now,
YouTube.
yeah.
would
See
be
now,
considered
I
social
was on
media.
Facebook for a number of years after it first started.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily pleased, but it allowed me to get back in touch with family members. I got family in New York. I got family in Jersey. I got family in Colorado. I mean, we're spread out a little bit, and most of them here in Florida, but still a lot in those other areas.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care for the Facebook very much.
Do you want to sit?
Yeah,
Are
I
you
got.
good standing?
You can
Okay.
grab the rocking chair, dude. I wanted matching chairs.
Yeah.
I
just
prefer
realized
the
you've been
rocking
standing
chair,
this whole
but
time,
I don't want to do one rocking chair and then one of these cheese
Yeah.
stick Dollar General chairs.
Hey, I got the same ones at home.
$12. Here we
Hell
are.
yeah.
But generally speaking, I got away from Facebook because I found out how much they were manipulating people. Now it's
Interesting. In what facet?
crazy as it in every.
Oh, just like personalized
Completely.
ads and like taking people's data and stuff like that, or what?
Literally making sure you see things to affect you.
Oh yeah.
The
I
lady
would say
who
that's part of
is
personalized
in
ads.
charge of all the computer learning and all that, I
Uh-huh.
forget what they CE something. They always have a CEO or COO or whatever.
Yeah.
She's chief executive in charge of whatever,
Mhm.
and it has to do with computer stuff. Oddly enough, this is on National Public Radio.
Interesting.
I do tend to listen to that on the weekends.
Okay.
Talk radio, conservative during the week, and then liberal stuff on the weekends.
Interesting. Okay.
They liberal do a much longer story. It's not just a topic and bat it around, but they literally delve into certain aspects. And they were
Mhm.
speaking with this lady. She was saying, well, we got 3 computers. One is to create questions. That's its only job. Now you're talking super computers. Create questions.
Yeah.
The next one is to answer these questions. So they got basically these 2 computers working with each other.
Sure.
The third one is how to apply the answers.
So what was the point of that?
The point is how to apply it and make you do things to manage
Interesting.
you, to manipulate. And she literally said manipulate. And the lady said, so how do you do this? And she says, well, with like real sad people, we show them happy stuff. And with happy people, we show them sad stuff.
Jesus.
And then we take in their input, their response to that, and see how we may affect them further. Yeah, I got the fuck off of Facebook right then.
Wow. That's
you know
fun.
what I mean?
Yeah, I don't really use it
And
that much. but
it's
yeah.
funny too, because like in my circumstance, this was also at a time when I was in communication with I always use young lady, and the purpose for us communicating was to get together.
Sure.
And I mean, folding her in half,
Yeah, I got you.
rocking. Okay. Now this was going to be our second time, so I figure I really need to spice things up a little bit. So I started
Okay.
sending little stories to her, erotic stories.
Little poet over here. Okay.
Very raunchy in certain aspects of it.
Okay.
Next thing I know, now these are all through private message.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm seeing advertisements for swingers clubs.
That's funny.
All right, I do not identify that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Happy to serve a young lady when I can, but at the same
Yeah.
time, we ain't going there. So I bailed off of it, and honestly, I got to say a little happier, because then I'm not like looking. Oh yeah, well I got to see what so and so said. Now I'm back to I really don't give a shit what you say. And I mean, even then, I didn't necessarily have a give a shit, but you almost have to. You know what I mean? Because if
Yeah.
you don't, well, you fade off into the distance. But if
Yeah,
you
I mean,
wanna
I
be
guess it depends on
part
like what
of
you want
the
of the relationship.
conversation
Yeah,
and part of the community, so to speak,
sure.
because I don't truly believe that's a community.
Hmm.
But in that way, you had to go generally against yourself. And I'm like, no, because I mean, I had to, and even on here, I'm cautious about the words I use. I hope this doesn't get really loud.
It's fine.
I know, but at the same time, the phone picks up little noises so well.
Oh,
Like
I gotcha.
the dog in the leaves is louder than we are.
Well, I don't know. When I was watching them, it didn't sound that bad.
Not that bad. I think about. But generally speaking, and this come back to the identity thing is, I really feel that the social media is help creating false identities because
Interesting.
you're not really sharing an experience that you're sharing.
Yeah, so my thing on that is like I agree, but I don't think it's to the extent that you think it actually exists. Like I do think it does incentivize people to try and fit in that way, but I think the majority of people are genuinely coming to these realizations like, wait a minute, I don't fit in with these like gender normatives. It's kind of a loaded term, but
Yeah.
I don't fit in with these gender normatives, and I wonder if, and then they start to kind of question their identity
Right.
in that way, because obviously gender is part of your identity. That's
Right.
your sense of self. You are, at least most people, they feel that they fall into some kind of category, and that's kind of the idea that originally was behind non-binary, is that you didn't fall into a category, but now it's obviously a binary because of when
Now
so
it
many
is a
people start,
category.
but so they probably need to work on that one a bit, but
The outside?
yeah, a
We'll-
little bit.
We'll find out here in a minute.
She's smelling.
Oh, she can see him. But it's gonna be interesting.
But
Real quick, let me just. Hey, Tom! Tommy! It's hard to whistle with fake teeth. Tom, scare her! Give her a good scare! Give her a good scare.
This is the death one, ain't it?
Yeah, so like, don't be nice. The idea is that we don't want her to go over there.
Get back. Get back.
She can't hear you. You gotta like stomp at her and shit. There you go. Let her be wary of you. I just don't want her to think it's okay to go over to your side.
Yeah.
Because your boy gets a hold of her, and I don't mean making puppies. I mean making bloody mess.
Yeah.
God, he's a beautiful dog. He is.
Big
All right.
baby.
Yeah. But all right, and see that kind of about, and see, it's funny how, because today that is the topic du jour, soup of the day. I think that's part of why we keep going back to that the gender issue.
Yeah, I think that's just a topic that we're kind of just agree to disagree on at this point, but
And
yeah.
honestly, I mean, we're not in full disagreement.
Yeah, we're like,
We're
Half and half.
mainly in disagreement.
yeah.
But generally speaking, it does lend itself to where are these people being influenced by, as far as what makes them believe
Yeah.
something that they knew otherwise for many years.
It's just
And
because people
it's
feel
not just-
scared.
It's not just the sexual aspect.
No, I don't even mean the sexual aspect.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like that's a very, I feel like it's a very cut and dry thing. Like, you look at someone and you're either attracted to them or not. I think most people kind of got that
Yeah.
concept down, and
Yeah.
labeling your sexuality is who gives a fuck, right? Label it, don't label it, who cares?
And see, for me, I'm not a real fan of labels.
Hey, and
Yeah.
that's who you are, who cares?
And it's funny because label I've always had, and it's funny too because after I got to a certain age, I was just like, you're an idiot. But even just a little kid, I recognize people are idiots.
yeah,
So I've always been skinny as hell.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, well below your average as far as a slender person. I'm skinny as fuck, dude. I've never weighed more than 145 at 6 feet tall.
Oh my god.
That was my
Last time I weighed 145 was like third grade.
There you go. Even now, I weigh less than that. I believe I'm under 130.
Oh my god.
Yes, I'm that skinny. So I've always been the skinny guy. It's never bothered me.
Oh, okay.
What's bothered me is, you think I don't know that?
Interesting.
People would just find it unbearable to restrain themselves from stating the so blatantly obvious of "fuck, you're skinny, dude." Be like,
I feel like you low-key do kinda care a little bit, because if that really bothers you, then that would if that truly didn't bother you, those comments probably wouldn't get to you. But you know,
it never bothered me because the skinny guy was doing everything everybody else was.
yeah.
So okay, I'm skinny. Oh well,
Who cares?
here I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, what bothered me is more the sense of they didn't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Dude, I was about your age. My friend's mom goes, "Fuck, you're skinny." I turned to her and oh shit, when did that happen? You know what I
That's
mean?
a
We all had a
classic.
good laugh, but at the same time, it's one of those moments like, no shit, dumbass.
Yeah.
I've been skinny since the day I was born. You know, I mean, what was I, 6 pounds, 3 ounces or something like that?
I don't remember. No, I don't
Twins
think
are
my mom
awful
ever told me my
small.
weight. Oh wait, actually, this is another part of my identity. I was adopted, and my mom was also adopted, so I actually don't think she knows my birth weight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, bravo to her.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big fan of adoption.
I am too. I plan to adopt when I'm older.
I really think it's an answer to a lot of the things in our society with the whole abortion thing, which topic we're going into. But at the
I
same
don't
time,
know. That's
I do believe that if they took the restraints off of adoption, not completely, because you got to know who the kid's going to,
yeah, of course.
some evaluation at least.
Mhm.
But generally speaking, there's so many people who'd love to have kids, but the adoption thing is so expensive, and you got to go through court. And
Well, it's weird. My mom. I don't know how my mom did this, but
They run.
they
it
used
through
to
the
actually
ringer.
pay her to adopt kids.
Yeah,
She was a
back-
foster mom for many years. Like I had a lot of foster brothers growing
Yeah.
up.
See, and that's the thing is, a foster person gets money, and some people who adopt get money. Like I know a lady, she's adopted a Ukrainian kid
Mhm.
and a Chinese kid.
Interesting.
Ukrainian was a boy, the Chinese was a girl. Both children are functionally retarded.
Mhm.
Okay. One's autism of whatever level, and the other one I'm not sure of.
Mhm.
Now, God bless her for doing this. She gets money to help her out.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm under the old school thought. No, if you didn't have money to raise this kid, you shouldn't have adopted.
I am of a similar sentiment. I think if you don't have the financial capability to begin with
Right.
to raise a kid of any level,
Right.
being autistic or not, or retarded or not, I don't think you should probably have kids. And I think that's
See, now,
like
that
an
part
odd-
I don't necessarily agree with,
interesting. Really?
because, well, truthfully, nobody would ever be having kids. Because, oh, well, we wanted to have kids, but God, we got to get that new car. Or, man, we got to move into a bigger
But
house
that's
first.
the thing. That's the thing is like, I do not believe that those are like genuine necessities. Like,
No, but you notice in life people do.
yeah,
People
I
get
guess it
cars every-
depends on what you constitute as actual like necessity to raise a kid, because like, and I don't think there's like a financial break point. Like,
No.
oh, if you make more than like 100K, okay, then you can have kids. I don't
Yeah.
think it's that,
No.
but like, I think it's like, are you able to support yourself? Are you able to support someone else? Are
Yes.
you able to support multiple people?
Yes.
And once you're at that point, you're like, okay. But also, like, it's kind of hard because, not everyone's mentally well to take care of a kid. There's a lot of prerequisites I feel like most people should have
Let
to have
alone
kids.
just the functional, natural thing of getting with it, ending up with a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, and it's funny too because, and this is a sign how things have changed.
Mhm.
It used to be you would not even have a kid unless you were married.
That's valid.
Otherwise, you were considered a Jezebel.
Okay, I don't
Now,
think that's valid.
for the man, you were just considered, and the child was considered illegitimate.
Interesting.
Matter of fact, I remember one of my baby sisters, the one in between me and him. She was considered illegitimate. She had a
Interesting.
father, she had a mother, spent time with both of them, but they weren't married. And that was enough to be considered illegitimate. Now, in today's
like that.
world, you
That would
couldn't
just be a step.
you know what I mean? You just couldn't say that kind of thing. Oh, don't say that about that kid.
Well, it's very invalidating, and it's like not even true. To be fair.
It's not true today. It was true back then.
Okay, fair.
Now, and this is one of those things, I'm going to try and run this back to the identity thing. She always identified as her sister.
Sure.
He always identified her as his daughter, and her mom the same.
Yeah, and that's why I think family kind of extends past like blood relations.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. And I mean, and how can I put it? I don't know her. I haven't seen her since she was 12, so I don't know anything about her.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a little sad in its own right, but so I don't know who she is. But I can tell you that back then, her identity was a little bitch that got away with everything. And I mean everything. We couldn't.
Yeah, it's how my
I remember
cousins were.
one time she went to my dad and said, "Dad, Jamie, Dad, he hit me." And my dad, of course, being the man he was, said, "All right, you lay down on the ground." I lay down on the ground. Says to her, "Okay, now you sit on his stomach." She sat on my stomach. He says, "Okay, I want you to raise a hand to her." I'm like, "Okay, Dad, I promise I won't." He goes, "No, I don't want you to do it. Go ahead and do whatever you want to him. You want to hit him, you want to whatever,
Jeez.
go ahead and do it." Boy, she
Yeah, that's really how it was back then. 'Cause I had
scratched the
cousins.
hell out of my face.
Yeah, I had cousins, two girl cousins, and this is a similar thing. Like, I'd go to me and my brother. You know, we'd have a problem with our cousins, and then we'd go to our mom, and she'd be like, "That's completely unacceptable." And then they'd go to their mom,
Yep.
and then their mom would be like, "That's also completely unacceptable." And then like the moms would talk,
Yep.
and then they'd come to the consensus that the boys were in the wrong randomly,
Mm-hmm.
or not randomly, but that
Just
was their
generally
line of
speaking,
thinking.
yes.
Yeah, and it's like, damn, really?
Yep. Yep.
And then
it's
yeah.
funny because, and that brings us a little bit back to the identity thing, that in a male identity, or as a man, part of ours is how we treat women. Now, I
Yeah.
mentioned with my father, he was a ladies' man. He was a womanizer as well. That was his identity.
Interesting.
You know
You
what I
think
mean?
you think if that you took that away from him, that he would be a different person? Because I kind of disagree.
I think if he was not the womanizer,
That he
there
would
wouldn't be so many of us.
sure.
Because then
Oh,
he
and then
would have
you-
been faithful to one woman, yada, yada, yada.
Oh, okay. Well,
'Cause-
actually, then I agree.
Honestly, it's one of those moments where I had overheard my mom and my stepmom speaking one time. They finally got to a point where they got along. And
Interesting.
they were talking about my dad, and I was like, wait, so you guys knew about each other and the other ones? Now, at the time my mom married, my dad whoring around. Later on, divorces my mom because basically my uncle or my grandpa said, this is over. Italians and guns, you get a point across quick. And generally speaking, my stepmom ended up the next one. Now, in the end, it worked out good because I got 4 awesome siblings.
Sure, yeah.
And my stepmom wound up being a hell of a person. Of course, you know, as a kid, nobody likes their stepparent.
I don't have experience with that, honestly.
Yeah, I can, and don't get me wrong, I've known people who are like real close with their step-parent, but generally speaking, it's like step-parents.
Or I guess, I mean,
I mean,
I got a
that-
step-parent at
that-
16. Does that constitute as a,
That's still a step-parent.
yeah,
And generally,
that
it's
guy.
the Cinderella thing.
yeah,
you know?
I still hate that guy.
Evil step-parents.
Yeah, no, like,
But-
he's the guy I was talking about that's
Yeah.
still my mom's current boyfriend.
Yeah, that makes him your stepdad. Right?
Well,
Until,
I don't give him that much respect, but
No, but legally speaking, if he's married to your mom,
he's not.
oh, then he's just some dude.
I
Yeah.
can't,
Now he puts a ring on it. That's a different story.
Let's fucking hope not.
Now, at the same time, you see how that plays once again back into the identity. She becomes Mrs. Now, not to say she's not Mrs. whomever now, but she's not his
Yeah,
Mrs.
she is divorced.
But she's not his Mrs. They'd go away, go play. Don't stick your nose under there. There's 2 fences to make sure there's a distance between us.
Fair enough. Yeah.
When I moved in, I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to put a fence in between my house and my loving brother's house.
Oh, he's your brother? Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize.
That's my baby brother. When I was saying he's 6'4", and like I think he's about
Oh.
245.
Yeah, I sort of almost inferred that earlier, because you said in between me and him, and you pointed to him, and I was like, wait, are they related? And then I was
did
like,
actually
wasn't sure
mention
of
it briefly earlier,
Yeah.
but I just glossed over it.
Gotcha.
But generally speaking, I mean, so part of the identity factor plays in there is it's a little bit of where we are in life as well. You know what I mean? In that same
Yeah.
way that he's not your stepdad, you'll never identify him as your stepdad.
Absolutely not.
But if he marries your mom, his identity does become your stepdad.
Legally, anyways.
Exactly. And that brings us to, all right, so we kind of have gone over the personal aspect of our identity, the social aspect of our identity, and now comes the more,
The legality?
well, governmental, we'll say.
Okay. I
Because
like that.
school, police force, many different aspects where, like when you go to your driver's license place.
Sure, yeah.
All right, now more than likely they will ask you to fill out your information, including,
I'm going to try and do that online, because I do not want to sit there and fill out fucking forms all day.
hey, honestly, it's not a bunch of forms.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a real, my advice on that, this isn't advice for you. You don't want advice here, shrug off. My advice to you, on the other hand, is make an appointment. This way you don't
that's what I was
sit-
going to do.
Yeah, you don't sit there with your thumb in your ass for 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know.
Waiting to hear your name called. Now it's funny too because legally speaking, you will be whatever height, whatever weight. Generally speaking, and I don't like using the term race for ethnicity because they'll do your ethnicity.
Yeah.
All right, we do call it race, white, black, but then you get into Hispanic, you get into the Indians. Those aren't races; those are ethnicities.
Yeah.
It's just white
Well,
and black that we consider
It depends.
race.
If you mean Indian as in Native American, then that's an ethnicity.
Dot versus feather.
But if you're Indian, like from India, that would be your race.
But is it?
Yeah.
Because there are so many different types of Indians that are not Indian.
Yeah. So like.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay, so we in the 90s picked up this stupid addition to give black people some sort of special title. Not necessarily they needed one. I always thought,
Well, I mean,
It's
we were
good
slaves
now.
for a long time, but. Yeah.
but they go by African American.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
Interesting.
Where is Egypt?
I am geographically challenged.
African.
Okay.
Is an Egyptian an African American?
I mean, I guess it depends.
Okay, Ethiopia.
Uh-huh.
You would pretty much consider those people black.
Yeah, because they are.
They're Ethiopians.
Well, yeah, but. color
Just
skin.
like the Egyptians are Egyptian.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I find disappointing
Mm.
because generally speaking, blacks used to know their ancestry because it was relatively limited. I know this is going to sound a little weird, but
Mm.
slaves weren't taken from all over Africa. It was mainly a couple of regions
Yeah.
because those were the regions, and this is funny, if you get into history at all, it's really weird.
Mhm.
Europe, what we consider Europe now, was mainly Rome at one time. Went
Yeah.
way in Africa. You're Roman. You weren't African. You know what I mean? You weren't Egyptian. You were Roman.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So generally speaking, that whole thing, I mean, the different bloodlines through the time, dude, there's been so many white people in Africa through the years. And they
I don't think
marry
anyone
into
would
them,
ever-
you know?
Like if there was a white person that claimed they were legitimately African and they've got
South
like
Africa.
African descent. What?
South Africa.
Yeah, like a lot of South Africans are white.
Yep.
No one would ever be like, no, you're not African. There's no way.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, that's really interesting. You're from or maybe your ancestors from Africa and you're not exactly from Africa.
Well, I'll give you another fun example, and this one just, I was godsmacked. Co-worker, relatively friendly on the side as well. I mean, we didn't go necessarily hang out, but we might get together at another friend's house at the same time, so we were friendly. Redheaded, freckles, light skin. I kept calling him a Mick. That's basically somewhat a
Interesting.
derogatory for an
Yeah.
Irishman. Not necessarily terribly derogatory, but somewhat, and it is meant to be in a friendly manner.
Oh, okay.
And
Gotcha.
me being Italian on half my bloodline, okay. He one day goes, "Why do you keep calling me that?" I said, "Because you're obviously Irish, dude. I mean, look at you, red hair, freckles. Man, if you don't burn just in the fact there's daylight, I don't know what to tell you." He goes, "Dude, I'm Italian."
No shit.
That was my response. Just
That's
what
so
you did
funny.
in just that way.
Oh shit.
Yep.
What?
And I was like, "Wait, what?" He goes, "Dude, you don't know much about history, do you?" And at that time, I mean, I really didn't know nearly what I do now. I'm
Yeah, I
about
don't know
your
shit
age.
about history.
you
Yeah.
know? And honestly, I always enjoyed history, but it was more the American history. I wasn't too into the world history.
Mhm.
But at the same time, he mentioned Rome, the Goths. And honestly, before Rome, the Goths were all through all of Europe and even down into parts of the Slavic nations. Yeah.
I don't. He knows a lot about like Slavic
You
and Nordic
can
history.
explain this to him later, but generally speaking, that's where a lot of what we call white people come from.
Mhm.
But the thing is, they were in Africa, they were in the Slavic nations, they were in the Asian, what was basically the Ottoman areas back in the time. And so, yeah, you know, a totally white, red-headed, freckle-faced Italian.
Yeah.
And even, honestly, I have an aunt. All this time I thought she was Irish. Petite little redhead. Italian.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? So, now, that's funny too because I would never have identified her as Italian.
Yeah. See, I never do that with like white people. I don't even like try and guess.
Now, I'm going to guess with you saying this, you're not white.
I'm half white,
Okay.
but like,
You're a mix.
yeah, I'm half white and half black. But
Okay.
I don't like him for instance. He's part Irish, Scottish. No, not Scottish.
Germanic, I would think. No?
No.
Something from that region.
Something
Really?
something Slavic. Yeah.
Okay.
Polish. That's what it was. He's part Irish, part Polish.
Oh.
And some other stuff, right? Oh no, just Irish.
You know,
Polish.
it's funny because society has changed so much that I can't make the fucking joke about him being a dumb drunk.
He makes that joke about himself all the
Hey,
time.
my Polak friends used to do that. They'd fuck something up and go, "What'd you expect? I'm a Polak," you know?
Yeah.
Alex takes the screw in a light bulb.
All of them.
He just goes, I don't know. But yeah. But I would not have known that. Like when I first met him, I was not like,
He was just a dude.
this Polish Irish guy,
Yeah.
he's so white.
But and it's funny because according to certain governmental things, that will be part of his identity. In the same way,
Yeah.
they'll consider him white. You go into further stuff where they're going to look at lineage or something, and they'll go, "Oh, well, he's a..." And even with me, with like I was saying, Italian. When I was a little kid, my father, when he'd get mad, or even a couple times other family members, not from my mom's side, from my dad's side, "You little guinea bastard."
Oh, I
Guinea
have
is-
heard that one, but
Guinea is
not
a
towards me,
derogat-
but I have
no,
heard
but
other white
Guinea
people
is a
use it.
derogatory towards the Italians,
Interesting.
you know, and honestly, I do to some degree identify as Italian.
Mhm.
But the truth is, and this is one that I love to tell people all the time, that makes me not white.
Why?
Well, first of all, Italians aren't white.
In what sense
That's
of the
my
word?
skin color. That's not me out in the sun every day. That's my skin color.
Okay,
Put your
fair.
arm up there. We really so different?
Okay, valid. However,
Am I
Italians
white?
not considered white.
Are they?
I mean, the fuck if I know.
Now, it's funny because nowadays they are.
Oh, okay.
Because society has taken away something that we really had that we don't have anymore is our ethnicities. You are either white, black, or some form of Hispanic / Latino, which is really a bad thing to say
That's
because
really
you
strange.
can't be. All right, and this goes to the history thing again.
Uh-huh.
If you're from Mexico,
Okay.
are you Hispanic or Latino?
Honestly, I thought those terms were interchangeable. If I'm being like completely honest with you.
You're one or the other.
Oh, okay. I had
And
no
I'll
idea.
explain why. A little history lesson for you.
Honestly. Sure.
During a period of time, France and Spain were both trying to have possession of Mexico. South America, Central America, they were fighting over that. Well, the Germans kind of screwed the French over and taught them,